And good morning, I'm Andrea Lutz. We are standing by ready to go to a live press conference. It's happening now with Yellowstone County officials between the City of Billings, the Disaster and Emergency Services, and Yellowstone County commissioners. Right now we're going to go to it, and first speaking at the podium, Mayor Bill Cole. So let's take a listen in.
Begin by wishing all of you a very happy St. Patrick's Day, especially Chief St. John, who must be an honorary Irishman even if he's not. Last night, the city and the county yesterday issued a declaration of emergency relating to the COVID virus, and we have copies of that back there for anybody who has not seen one, and members of the press who would like one. Since the novel coronavirus, now known as COVID-19, began infecting significant numbers of people in China and in the United States, members of the Unified Health Command, elected officials from Yellowstone County and the city, and emergency response personnel knew that it would only be a matter of time before Montana and Yellowstone County residents would also be impacted. The Unified Health Command, the county, the city continue to work in close cooperation with each other and with numerous other partners in responding to this public health threat. This is the time when our entire community must support each other and stand together, or at least in relative close proximity, about 6 feet apart, I guess. On Friday, March 13, Montana became one of the last states in the nation to report cases of COVID-19. One of the first people to be diagnosed was a Yellowstone County resident. And another member of our community, I believe, was diagnosed just yesterday. We offer our support, our prayers, and our best wishes for their speedy recovery. In an effort to help slow the transmission of the disease, yesterday afternoon, Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton issued an order to close all bars, restaurants, casinos, wineries, and the like, effective today, March 17 at 8 a.m. this morning. This order will remain in effect until Monday at midnight, March 23. And with that, I will turn it back to Commissioner Pittman. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. There is still much that we do not know about this virus, and we are learning more every day. We look to and learn from other communities that are further on down the road with their COVID-19 experiences. Health professionals are giving guidance on efforts to help slow the disease infection rate. It is very important to get our information from reliable sources. Rumors on social media and misinformation fuels anxiety. Please get your information from riverstonehealth.org or the CDC. Both sources offer up-to-date and reliable information and recommendations. We must come together as a community and support each other. Life as we know it has changed. This is not an easy situation. We are all in this together, and it is now time to face those challenges together. We are a strong and resilient community. This will come to pass, and we will persevere. This time I would like to invite Casey Williams, our DES Director, up.
Thank you all for coming. A quick update: as of March the 16th at 8:00 p.m., there were 311 persons tested for COVID-19 in the state. 303 of those have been negative, 8 have been positive, and as you just heard, we have our second case in Yellowstone County. After the declaration of emergency was signed and declared by the city and the county yesterday, that opened up our DES office and our community to support from both the state and federal governments. This particular incident and disaster is unique as far as disasters go in our nation. So some of the rules for help are changing even as we speak, probably. I would ask that all of the businesses that have been affected negatively, all of the schools, and any event that has been canceled, postponed, or altered in any way, we need to document that information so that we can send it to the state in our request for both financial help and supply help. It may be a while before we get the assistance, but we have to document these things. One requirement by the state is a Yellowstone County impact information that I need from every business in Yellowstone County, every event that has been impacted in Yellowstone County, and all of the schools. Within the next few hours, we will have a link on our website where business owners can go to the Yellowstone County website, click on the link, and fill out the information that is needed. The information that will be needed is the name of the event, school, or facility that's been impacted, whether or not or what date that impact began, whether the impact, and there's only 3 different choices, whether you had to close or cancel the event or the facility, whether the event or facility was impacted but is still operational. I'll give you an example of that. Would be an event that would have had patrons watching, but they're only going to do it by television. I don't know if we have any of those here, but that would be one. So if there was a sporting event that was allowed to go on televised but not have people watching it in the stands, that is impacted but operational. And then we need to know if something is completely operational. Another example would be Share, the concert. We know that that concert has been delayed, so it has been impacted, but it is still operational. Fully operational means you haven't had any impact at all for that. But we need to collect this information so that when we turn it into the state and we start getting federal resources, we've collectively as a community come together, pooled our needs, and that places us at a higher level on the priority list. This is a nationwide declaration of emergency. We are competing, if you will, with every community in the United States. So the better we document the impact that this has on us, the higher up we go on the list for potential resources. There's also a place on this survey to put notes, which would include important information about the status, impacts, further implications, and we need the address. When you fill out the survey, we need to do one for each event so that it's individualized, and there'll be a place to put your address. That is also being mapped and will soon be public information on the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services website, where you can look at those impacts across the state. We do have an email address that information can be sent to as well. That information can be sent to the email address COVID-19, COVID-19 at co.yellowstone.mt.gov. That particular request for information is very important to us as we start to rebuild and recover from some of the economic impacts that have occurred as a result of this pandemic. There is also another help for businesses, and I would ask Steve with Big Sky Economic Development to come up and address that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Casey. Morning, everyone. I want you to know a couple things first, and I want to walk through some information that will be important for Yellowstone County businesses. Your team at Big Sky Economic Development is still actively engaging with our business community and our community meeting our responsibilities. We are doing that in a creative way. Electronically, all of our folks can manage business remotely and online and are actively now engaging with clients who have needs in our community through technology. You can always reach out to me if you need to get plugged into a resource at Big Sky Economic Development. I want you to know that that team is actively working with our business community now. We're just doing it in a way that safeguards that team as well as meets our responsibility to control the spread for our community. I'll share this information with you, and then this is available to hand out, so all the email addresses and things are on that written sheet for you, so you don't have to write all this down. Our state leaders need to hear from local businesses in Yellowstone County area, those that are being impacted by the business restrictions related to COVID-19. So we're asking businesses in our community and our region to please complete a simple one-page economic injury worksheet. It gives information on how your business is being affected, and it also helps our community secure eligibility for disaster relief funding options. It's a very simple one-page form. It's called the Economic Injury Worksheet. It's actually one page, believe it or not, for a government form. When you complete that form, you need to send it to 2 locations on your email. You complete the form, copy it to your computer, and then paste it into these 2 different locations. The first email address that it goes to is MTDES, so the Montana DES, mtdes@montana.gov. And then we're asking you also to send that to Big Sky Economic Development at melanie@bigSkyEDA.org. And poor Melanie gets to go through all of that information so that we can provide Casey and his team with the information they need to assess the overall impact in Yellowstone County. So please, that economic injury worksheet goes to both of those email addresses, one to the state and then one to us at Big Sky Economic Development. We'll provide both of those, that information to the county. Once the SBA, the Small Business Administration, has issued an economic injury disaster declaration for the county and surrounding counties, businesses will be eligible to then apply for economic injury disaster loans and other resources. Important to note, filling out the economic injury worksheet does not make you, that's not the application process for the SBA disaster relief loans. There will be a second form that you'll have to fill out. That economic injury worksheet helps us establish the overall economic impact for our community. There will be, unfortunately, another step in the process to meet your individual business needs that have been impacted. If you need assistance at all, if you pull up that worksheet and it is just not making sense to you, which can happen to me, if you need assistance in completing that form, you can send a quick email to contact@bigSkyEDA.org and we will help you. Give us your contact information. We'll get on the phone with you. We'll walk through that information with you. Please note that this is important for you to complete that form as soon as possible. We know this is a difficult time. If your business is being directly impacted, your employees are being impacted, your livelihood's being impacted, we're asking you to pause, fill out this information with us. That'll be very valuable to us. We should have more information as an economic development organization coming out in a few days regarding the host of resources coming from both the state and federal agencies. And so refer back to Big Sky Economic Development, our website. We'll make that information available to you the moment it's available to us. Happy to answer any questions you have regarding that worksheet. I would pause maybe with and leave you this one comment. This is having an impact, it's obvious, and for some businesses it is significant. I don't want to overstate that, but I absolutely don't want to understate that. There will be a time when all of us in our community will need to show up and support our small business community. I can't tell you when that appropriate time is for all of us to re-engage that way, but they will need us to show up and do business with them. And so I would encourage you to be thinking about how you can engage with our small business community in a way that is safe and supports their business needs. Thank you.
Steve, I do have one question, and you gave out the email address as montana.gov. Usually it's mt.gov.
Oh,
it may be
thank
Montana,
you.
but I think it's probably mt.gov.
No, you're absolutely right. Thank you. Yeah, I'll give that address to the state DES office. It is mtdes@mt.gov. And again, we have this all written down for you in a sheet that we'll hand out. Thank you. Appreciate that catch.
I have one other, because I misspoke on an email.
Did you? Okay.
The email I gave you that said COVID-19, it is COVID-19 at co.yellowstone.mt.gov. Big deal. I also want to impress both of these documents that we talked about are necessary to get the relief for our businesses. So.
Since we're kind of coming back making some additional points, one thing that's very important about the county health officer's order to keep in mind closing bars and restaurants is that that does not apply to delivery and to takeout. And more of those establishments are going to be setting up opportunities for delivery and takeout. There may also be the possibility going forward, and I can't speak for the John Felton, the county health officer, but for some other options that might allow social distancing in those organizations. That'll be something that I know and other government officials will be asking about as we go forward. Are there opportunities for making those restrictions more flexible? Ultimately, that'll be up to the county health officer, but that'll be a point of discussion going forward.
So if there's any questions, we'll take them. I just want to take a moment to thank my fellow commissioners, the mayor. We've been working on this for weeks, preparing and getting all of the possibilities out there. So KC has been doing an amazing job for us in coordinating all of these efforts, and we're really working very hard. We want to thank our first responders and our people working in the hospitals. There's a lot of challenges facing us and a lot of unknowns. So we thank you for your patience. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, we have a lot of business owners here, and I know this is a press conference, but I'm not sure it wouldn't be a good idea to hear a little bit about what the impact is doing to them so we know what's going on in their community if they want to come out and have a look.
Sure. Is there anybody who would like to, do you have a question or a statement that you'd like to make? Sure.
You have lots of employees and they are scared, and what should we tell them?
How firm is the money?
Yeah, is this an unemployment claim all the way to how long are we going to be down and out?
Right. Casey?
That's a really good question, and unfortunately the answer to that question is that's not known yet. The federal government, I know because we get all the emails or discussing the economic impact that this has on our business across the nation. There are rules to the Stafford Act, which is the Emergency Declaration Act, that they're reviewing right now to see which of those we need to alter for such a big problem. As far as the length of time that this order from the health department lasts, that's actually up to the health official, Mr. Felton, and I'm sure that will be based on whatever science and data that he gets from the CDC or the State Department of Health, and I just can't answer that question because the virus itself and the dynamics that are going on across our nation have been so rapidly changing, and it is so new to everyone across our nation on how to deal with a pandemic of this nature that has affected not only us in Yellowstone County but globally. And so I guess my best thing is be just a little bit patient. Those things are coming out as fast as they can, and as soon as we get the direction on that, we'll let you know. Right now, what we do know is the 2 forms that we talked about today are vital to link into any help that we have, and that's not the best of answers, but that's the honest answer.
I don't know. Well, I own two bars and casinos here in this town, and I think it's more of a comment than anything. It's unfair that when you say some places can still offer takeout. Well, not all bars and casinos have food, and you basically shut their livelihood off completely. And I think that as I just drove down here, right down Grand Avenue, there's a lot of places that are open. There's a lot of places with a lot of cars. Grocery stores, convenience stores, hair salons, nail salons. Those people are closer than this. And I'm just trying to understand what the decision-making process was to say, okay, let's cut off the bars, casinos, and restaurants.
And that is an answer that John Felton, our health official with the county, is the only one equipped to answer.
Is he going to have a press conference here sometime? We can ask some questions?
He has been having some press conferences. I don't know if they had one today or if they're going to have one later, because I haven't been notified of when their timing is to come out with their press conference. But I believe they're going to have a press conference either today or early tomorrow to address some of those issues. But as far as why the decision was made, it was made, I can tell you this, in the interest of public safety, based on the recommendations that he got from CDC and the state. But the details of that are really a question that's best left to the health official. I just can't answer the truthfully.
Doesn't it seem strange, though, that some businesses are allowed to be open and there's lots of people there, and other businesses with the same comparative number of people are not allowed to be open?
I know that the decision that was made is based on social distancing and square footage.
Yeah, I get that, but like the actual number.
But I can't, that's something the health official is the only one equipped to answer. I just don't have the knowledge base to answer health official decisions.
When will we know when they're going to have that press conference so we can ask those questions?
As soon as they get that squared up and scheduled, it'll go out to all the media outlets and be placed on their public information site. I don't know if anybody has access to email that's part of the UHC, but they're working on it. I know they were working on it today. I just don't know the exact timing. Yes?
From a personal standpoint, I'm not a business owner, but I understand the problem is the problem, but it hasn't claimed any more lives or been any more serious than our standard flu. So this is just kind of a shock to me and the community. The problem is the problem, but how are we going to handle how people are reacting to the problem? I know just in my neighborhood alone that there's been 56 burglaries just since January, and this is causing a citywide panic, and people seem to just be worried about the virus and the businesses that are closing. What about the absolute chaos this is going to cause? I feel like coming up with an ending date needs to be mandatory. It has to happen so we can know when our society can get back up and running, because I mean, I know from Great Falls, their probation and parole is pretty much closed down, and with that much chaos and the crime point that's been in Billings in general, adding this into the mix is going to be substantial, and I don't think that people are really realizing what is going to happen within just the next couple of weeks.
So one of the biggest problems that we have, and I'll speak on behalf of the leadership of our community and the emergency response community and the disaster and emergency services, a huge problem is trying to manage the reaction, the responsible reaction and the irresponsible reaction. Our Emergency Operations Center opened up, and we've had the discussions of the possible implications from increased crime to social disorder to people just being afraid, and perhaps maybe even people having some depression issues, all of those things. Of course, when it comes to criminal activity, that's up to the law enforcement, but it's one of those, we react to those criminal activities and deal with them as they come up. The purpose of the press conferences and the purpose of the information that's coming out, and it keeps being repeated to our public constantly, get reliable information and make the appropriate steps that are being recommended without overdoing it. And I'm just going to say this, it may not be politically correct, but Facebook and Twitter are not vetted good sources of information. And I would implore everybody, stop putting out false information and things you don't know about on Facebook and social media. It is adding to the problem.
I guess what I'm saying is that social media isn't my problem. The raw reality of the neighborhood that I live in as a single white female mother to a little girl is very real, and the stalkers are out in the thick of it. And I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if this lasts longer than a few weeks. I don't really know how I'm going to keep my house, and I think that there's a lot of people that might be in that same boat. You know, there's a lot of underlying issues where, you know, we can group it in as a whole and say, well, we're going to figure it out till this virus figures it out, and we'll just help each other. But if I lose my house in a month, and the people that are in my neighborhood that are not very stable people lose their houses within a month, and everybody starts to spiral down, like this isn't something that is going to have longevity. This is going to happen fast. And
yes.
I think it's just really scary.
And everybody in this room, and all of the elected officials, myself included, we're all affected the same way, because we're all, this is global. I mean, it doesn't just affect our citizenship or our business owners. It impacts my ability to conduct my daily life because I'm restricted too. I can't go and do the things I need or get the resources that I need as well. So I completely understand. I empathize and sympathize with everyone, and perhaps one of the commissioners or mayor can comment on that a little better.
Sure. I'll do my best. There's no doubt that this is causing a huge disruption to everybody in our community. We all wish it never happened, and we all wish it would go away, and we all wish we could put a deadline on it. The reality is, though, that we can't. The reality is that this virus is like a fire. It is more manageable when it is smaller. It is uncontrollable when it becomes large. We've seen the disaster in places like Italy that did not get on it quickly, and the economic disruption in places like Italy that have gone far beyond closing down bars and restaurants to closing down all businesses, going to quarantines, to preventing people from leaving their community. 6 counties announced yesterday around the San Francisco area are now on shutdown. You want to see economic catastrophe, if that happens, that is what we are trying to avoid. So we need to put the fire out as early as possible and restrict it as much as possible as early as possible. And that means that inaction is our enemy. We need to act decisively, but also intelligently and with due deliberation. So it has to be data-driven and based on the experience by people a lot smarter with a lot more knowledge than I am. But I do know that. I have seen fires, and I see the difficulty when they get big. So that's the thinking behind it, and I hope that the experts out there who have been working day and night, I have great confidence in them, but working together, we'll have to stick together, and we will get through this, but it will be probably a few months and probably not a few weeks, I'm afraid. So thank you for your sticking with us, though. Thank you. Commissioner?
I just wanted to make a couple comments because the Public Health Service did closed down the cafes and the taverns, and they've allowed for some certain things to go on, like takeout food and that. We got a really smart business community, and American resourcefulness is incredible. So I would encourage you to work together to see if there's some ways that you can distance in the cafe, or, you know, I don't know what kind of options are available, 10 feet separation between the tables that the health department might like. But I think it's certainly worth the time to make sure that we know, and we all do know, what the collateral damage is, and it's significant. And, you know, and we're concerned about our business community here too, so we'll do everything we can do to work with you to try to find some solutions for the problem as we go forward. And hopefully the health department can take a second look at it and just kind of see if there's any ways that we can, you know, have some of our businesses continue to be successful without threatening the public. So thanks for being here.
All right, well, thank you for being here today. We'll be available afterwards for some questioning, and we just ask that you remain calm and look out for each other, and we're in this together. Thank you for being here today.
Okay, so we are just hearing from Yellowstone County leadership. They had a press conference. It started at about 11 o'clock. And this is kind of what the message was coming from our leadership in Yellowstone County. Of course, we also heard from Mayor Bill Cole of the city of Billings. Everyone coming together saying, acknowledging that it is having a huge impact, the coronavirus, a significant impact to business owners, and saying that there is going to come a time where everyone has to come together and support those small businesses. But right now it's really just adjusting to the ever-flowing and changing things that are happening day to day. Really important information for some business owners regarding two separate forms that I just want to touch on again. Anyone who is a business owner or a part of a school or had an event is encouraged to document for financial help with the dates that their event was impacted, so that they can compete for financial help. That was one form that was brought out there in that press conference. Another one coming from Big Sky Economic Development, also offering a resource, just basically saying that business owners really need to get in touch with their state leaders, and also come up with a one-page economic injury worksheet so that they can apply for some business loans as well. There was some business owners in that audience there during that press conference, and they had some concerns that they shared also with Yellowstone County leadership. One of them asking just flat out, how long is this going to take? And to that response, Casey Williams, who's the DES director, said, we just don't know. So again, just an ever-changing, ever-evolving process with the coronavirus. Again, here's the totals: 3,000, just over 3,000 people tested in Montana, 8 of them positive, 0 deaths. 311 tested, thank you so much, have been tested in Montana. That's compared to those national numbers where there's 4,500 cases and about 90 deaths nationally. So that's where Montana sits right now. Again, Mayor Bill Cole saying he wants to try and keep the fire that's burning right now small so it's manageable, and talking about a lot of that stuff. We do have that full presser on our website right now at ktvq.com and on our Facebook page. And we are continuing our coverage of the coronavirus throughout the day with updates on our website and our Facebook pages, and some more information on our statewide newscast coming up at noon, as well as 5:30, 9, and 10. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll send you back to programming.